every Tuesday night, or whenever you get to hear this. The Lace Out Boys, myself, Chris Pepper, the 377-game superstar of the East Keilor Football Club, and the co-host with the most, the man that we love, the man that we adore, Jamie, the J-Dog Wallace, here to talk about the week's games, all the news, all the key parts, so much to get through. I'm going to hand it over to the great man to give the rundown of what we're covering tonight, and then we're getting straight into the topics that matter. Over to you, big fella.
Peps, we have not only the standard show, we're going to run through our Facebook questions. This week we've got our listener question. We've got the standard that we do, Peps. We've got Spin the Magnets. We've got the Rising Star. We're going to have the ladder. We're going to talk about that. But then every week we're going to have different topics. And this week we've got some rippers. I've got one that I actually explode my head off my shoulders clean. And that is around the Dave McKay bump. I am right there in the AFL. I am almost ready. I'm not making big statements, Peps, but I'm almost ready to just launch.
You make big statements semi-occasionally. Like, you usually leave it to me to put the foot in the mouth disease, but I reckon we might bring an old favourite back for the second time.
I'm there.
We are there.
I am right there. We're going to talk about the coaches and who is in the line to possibly replace the 23-year legend, AFL legend. I mean, that name gets, that legend word gets thrown around a bit. Genuine legend of the Collingwood Football Club and the AFL. We're going to talk about who could possibly replace him. Then we're going to have a talk about our love, loathe, and laugh, which is a little segment that we introduced yesterday after the round, which is all about the listeners telling us what they loved and loathed and laughed about on the weekend, Pep. So we've got a new little spicy one there we're going to talk about. And then whatever we talk about, because this show goes in a million different directions, we don't have 3-hour board meetings leading into this show, Peps. We don't sit down and talk about it for half a day. We just hit live and then we go with whatever we're feeling. So, Peps,
we go commando. Go commando. Look, first and foremost, everybody listening, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said, without you, we don't have a show, and without us, you don't have much to look forward to outside of the single greatest AFL podcast on this side of the Westgate Bridge here in Melbourne. But plenty to get through. Look, I think the first thing that we need to do is it's a first port of call every single week. We know that's the ladder. Let's have a quick look at it and let's belt this one out. Okay, round 13. The D's are still on top, but after their schmozzle yesterday, which, trust me, they are going to be in the votes this weekend. They are still one game on top, but that's due to them having the bye this week. Western Bulldogs one game beneath on 40 and Geelong on 36. So potentially Geelong they're not going to jump. They've got too much of a percentage to catch. Dogs will jump into first if they beat Geelong. Geelong will stay in the hunt for a top 2 position and a home final down there at JMHBA or GMHBA or whatever they decide to call it besides when the finals come around. Brisbane Lions, Port Adelaide, the Sydney Swans and West Coast. Wow. All on 32 points. Richmond on 28. After their narrow loss, and that is the final 8 as we speak. Moving on to Fremantle, a full game behind. GWS with the draw. Crikey, was that a game and a half to watch? Absolutely riveting. I never thought I'd say that about a North Melbourne game this year. Adelaide Crows sitting there as well on 20 with St Kilda as well. Carlton, they had the bye. Well, you could say they've virtually had the bye all season. They're on 16 with Gold Coast and Collingwood. Don't get me started about them. Hawthorn, my goodness gracious, and North Melbourne after their draw on the weekend get themselves 6 points and are within 6 points of jumping up the ladder into 17th. So there's much to talk about. It's a huge ladder. Anything surprising you at the moment? Is the 8 set, is the top 4 set? Where do you sort of see it? Listeners, viewers, leave a comment on the chat or just leave a comment on the Facebook page what you think is the final 8 set at the moment, yes or no.
I don't know about the final 8, but Peps, that was probably one of the greatest rounds of footballs I've ever seen.
It was a ripper, wasn't it?
It was terrible for tipping.
Was. Oh, I think I got one. I think I got one, and that was because I missed it. I missed the first game, so I got the away team. Go Cats.
Perfect.
Oh, it was shocking. Absolutely shocking. But you know what wasn't shocking on the weekend is Nathan Buckley finishing up his playing/coaching career for the meantime over at Collingwood. I'm going to get into Collingwood very, very shortly, but you had some just a little bit that you wanted to talk about, the Collingwood perspective and some rumours and some names that are being thrown around, and we'd like to hear from the viewers what they think about who should actually be part of it and who just forget about it, don't be part of the coaching setup.
Correct. So there's been a couple of clubs who've got some senior assistant coaches on their list that we'll just go through them and just have a chat about if we think they could be the ones that maybe could look at Collingwood could look at redoing it. But we know that Collingwood goes for experience. But let's just look at some different left of field options. First, you've got Scott Burns, who's always talked about from the Adelaide Crows. I think he's been missed now for a couple of jobs that he's went for. Highly regarded. Once again, one of those people there that always seems to be in and around, but never quite get that senior job. So Scott Burns from Adelaide. He was at West Coast between 09 to 13. He was at Collingwood for 14 to 17 and at Hawthorn to 18 to 20. So he's had some really good experiences there and joined teams either just before or just after their finals appearances or grand finals appearances. So he's been around.
He has been around for quite a while, just like this segment, Around the Grounds. But he has been around a while. It's almost like he's been the silver medalist. He's always been the bridesmaid. You could almost say, who's that actress that was in 21 Dresses?
Catherine Heigl.
Yeah, he's the Catherine Heigl of the AFL coaches, isn't he? He's never the bride. He's always the bridesmaid. Yeah. Maybe he likes to be a bridesmaid.
Who knows?
Not too sure.
He is a graduate of the Level 4 coaching course, the AFL coaching course. So he has
that
got
means a lot. Well,
hey, we know that AFL accreditation is very important, Peps. Next, we have Danny Daly from Brisbane Lions. So once again,
I almost thought you were going to say Danny Del Rey, the big fella from the Doggies. He was stepping up from full forward to take on the head role.
So he held a coaching role at North Melbourne and Richmond before joining the Lions, where he spent the last 6 years up at there, looking at the football strategy role. He replaced David Noble as a football manager and is highly regarded across the industry as well. Once again, is that someone that Collingwood could go for? Someone who's following the David Noble path and also coming from that very much different type of coaching structure up there at Brisbane, which is more about educating players and that Fagan mentality of being an ex-teacher, sort of not just the coach barking, but someone who's there to educate and help those young guys. So maybe that could be someone they could be looking for.
I don't reckon.
No.
I'll tell you why in a moment.
Is Daniel Giansaracusa from Essendon, well, from West Coast, Western Bulldogs originally, but from Essendon as assistant. So he grabbed the Bulldogs. He grabbed him from the Bulldogs for the 2021 season. He joined Essendon at the start of the 2021 season. He was named the 2020 AFL Assistant Coach Association Year Award last year. And has undertaken a few duties at different clubs, forward line stoppages, set plays, and also steering Footscray's VFL side to its in a seniors coach. This year's looking after defence in Essendon, so maybe that could be something that Collingwood could be looking for. North Melbourne have already sounded out him for their vacant role before it was filled by David Noble. So that's someone that could potentially be on the radar for Collingwood.
No.
Okay. Jamie Graham.
I have got a theory behind this if I keep saying no.
Jamie Graham from West Coast. Once again, one of those coaches that was sounded out by North Melbourne at the start of, the end of last year. It was a development coach at St Kilda, then West Coast. He also coached East Perth as part of the Eagles WFA alignment. Highly regarded. Looked after defenders and forwards under Adam Simpson. He's led the Eagles to a 51-point against the Western Bulldogs in round 2 and in 2018 when Simpson was unavailable for family reasons. So he is someone that is potentially there to step into that role and has got experience over there in the waffle, and we already know is on the radar of some clubs because North Melbourne went looking for someone like this at the start of the year.
All right. Yeah.
Younger guy, only 38, so probably only has left footy playing in the last sort of 5 years as well.
He's got a full head of hair too, hasn't he?
Oh, yes, he has.
And it's one colour.
Jealous. Robert Harvey.
No, that won't be. If he becomes a senior coach, good luck to keeping that. They're going to end up looking like you, to be honest.
Like Rhys Shaw. Or working with you.
Shaw.
Or working with you for 4 years.
That's what happens.
Robert Harvey. We know that he's come in. He's standing in for Buckley for the rest of the season. He's there at Collingwood already. He was interviewed for the North Melbourne position, I believe, in November. This would be the 13th year in the coach's box after his career ended in St Kilda in 2008. Dual Brownlow medalist, entering his 10th campaign at the Pies in 2021. So he has the runs on the board. He knows the ins and outs of Magpies, whether or not they want to stick with someone who's already within the club or they are looking external, because not only is it on the field they're talking about, but they've also got the board stuff going on as well. So whether this is a time for Collingwood to start again like they did 23 years ago, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
he's got a free swing. He's got a free swing in it, hasn't he?
He has for the next half a year. Stephen King from Western Bulldogs, basically. He is Luke Beveridge's right-hand man at Whitten Oval. So if you can pinch someone like that, that'd be pretty handy. He's been there for 10 years now at Western Bulldogs. Ex-ruckman, elevated to a senior assistant role ahead of the 2019 season, having put in control of the Bulldogs midfield through 2016 Premiership campaign. So he has been there for a Premiership year. He was in charge of that very scintillating midfield that the Western Bulldogs had during that year.
Has played in a flag.
Has played in a flag as well in 2007, which is a year that I'll never talk about again.
I will.
So he's someone that potentially could come in there as well. Once again, a player who has recency, someone who spent a lot of time at a club. So he could maybe bring some stability to that football club from someone who likes to be there for a long time. Kingsley as well from Richmond. Enough has been said about him. Was the leading candidate for Adelaide's role at the end of 2015 before Don Pike took over that role. And he was interviewed again for 2019 for Adelaide to take over their role as well. So he could be there. Once again, Tigers, successful club, been there, worked in the system. He knows the systems. He knows what successful clubs do. He could be someone that could come in. You've got Nigel Lappin from Geelong. Once again.
Is there anybody not on this list, Jamie?
I'm sorry, Peps, but there's Sam Mitchell. I mean, Hawthorn are grooming him for that role. But, you start to talk about some of these ex-players. Jared Schofield from Port Adelaide, successful with their Premiership club, spent some time over in the Waffle, come back to here. You've got these Adam Uze from Melbourne. Could they take Ooze? You've already lost your head of fitness. You're going to lose one of your assistants now.
They've lost their head of fitness.
Yeah, Burgess has come back to Adelaide.
No, he's not.
He certainly is, my friend.
No, not 100% yet.
100% tick. Breaking news. Tick it off.
When was that breaking news?
About 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago.
You never brought that up in the show, have you?
And then you got the people talking about Choco Williams. Then you got the Ross the Boss. You've got about 10 people here that people reckon. I don't know where it's going to go. I feel it's probably going to be someone. I reckon you can scrub off Ross the Boss. Oh, and Vossi as well, because Vossi gets thrown into every coaching conversation in the last 4 years. So I feel that they're not going to go down that path. But Collingwood, knowing that they chased Malthouse 23 years ago, they could do the same thing again. They could go and grab an established coach like that who's got experience and go for that again.
Okay. So, looking at that list, J-Dog.
Yes.
I've got to look at a couple of things. So you have to look at, have they been part of a successful program?
Yeah, they all have.
All right.
In one part or another.
First thing. Have they been successful in their own career?
Mm-hmm.
And also, what were they like as a player? Because I reckon the way coaches coach was a lot like how they played as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at the moment, there's two names that stick out to me that are on that list that I think would be killer dilla.
Who's that?
Stephen King would be one.
Yep.
Okay. He's a big unit, has been part of a successful program for many years, part of the Doggies, and also played in flags himself.
Yep.
And was part of a very, very successful program for many, many years as well.
Yep.
And the other one that I do like is Nigel Lappin as well.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact, he's been at Geelong for many, many seasons, was there throughout virtually their 2-9, from 2-9 onwards. So he's played in a couple of flags there, also grand finals. And if you want to get really serious, chuck in the fact he played in 3 flags himself.
For sure, yeah, he played.
And who was he under?
Vossi.
He was under Lee Matthews and also played with the greats as well too.
He did. He
So
played in a amazing
he was the fourth Beatle.
Yeah.
And so they're the two that really stand out for me. I know your Kingsleys. Uze, I can't see him staying at Melbourne for 1 year. I can't see him under 1 year, knowing that there's the potential for him to take over from Goody. That's the way that I see it from Uze's perspective.
Okay, you reckon
if I had to look at that, Mitchell will not go because he's got Hawthorns virtually sewn up.
Yeah.
And the other one I would not like him to see go is Mark Williams, because I'm being very, very protective of that patch right now. I don't think, and also Collingwood would want, knowing Collingwood, they do not want to go down. Have a look at their last number of coaches that they've had. Mm-hmm. They've been massive names.
Mm-hmm.
Malthouse, for goodness knows how many years. Buckley, for goodness knows how many years. Right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to they don't want a small name. They want somebody who's got a resume, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So based on looking at that, I think it would be out of Lappin, because he has got the pedigree. He has got the runs on the board. Unless they could get Mitchell. But I don't think that they'd throw Mitchell into that at the moment. I don't think he's ready just yet, regardless if he's got a Cert 4.
All right. Here's a complete wild card, Peps. I withheld this one because I wanted to chuck this one on the barbecue quickly. You know that guy at the barbecue who has like a whole swag of meat, and you're like, oh, just while you're there, and then brings like 15 steaks, 19 sausages. Anyway.
Yep.
How did you feel about Clarko going to Collingwood?
That's a big one, Jadol.
He trumps all of those.
If Collingwood were able to pull him out of Hawth, if he was
coach,
but would Clarko want a break? That's the thing. Do you think he needs a year off to refreshen himself? Because he's going to go straight from Hawthorn into Collingwood. Their list has been pulled apart, regardless if they won yesterday. What happened at the end of last year was a disgrace. They got another disgrace potentially coming on board with this Dane Beam situation, which we'll get into very, very shortly. If they could get him, great, but you'd want to make sure that he is there for at least 3 to 4 years, and they have to have some draft picks as well too. And I don't think they've got many draft picks to play with. They're trying to get the other Dacos boy in, so they need their points up towards the top end.
Yeah,
I don't think they've got much currency. And if Clarkson was going to come over to Collingwood, he would say, I want at least a slew of draft picks that I can do something with.
Yeah.
Pendlebury's not getting any younger. Okay. Apparently he's got a basketball background as well. Just heard that for the first time on the weekend again. Sidebottom's not getting any younger.
No.
So you take that out. Who were their best players on the weekend? DeGoey played a good game yesterday. Let's be frank. He played a great game yesterday, but he needs to pull himself into shape. Yep. So Pendlebury's going, Sidebottom's potentially going. Is there enough underneath that? Like, they're not going to trade them out. They're going to retire.
They got some good players, but they need something else.
They are. I reckon they're about 5 short minimum.
Jazzy on the old chat there said Brad Scott.
No,
I just don't think anymore.
No more. Oh, Craig Jones, perfect. Just Collingwood could just fold.
Well, Peps, I think this is an opportune moment to back my candidate for the role of Collingwood.
Yep.
So for me, I'm going to just stick this one here on my microphone, and I am...
Make Vossi coach again.
That's me, Peps. Make Vossi coach again.
You don't want him at Port, do you?
If he has an opportunity, Peps...
You don't want him at Port, do you?
I encourage him to commit 100% to his dreams. And if his dream is coaching again, Peps, in the senior ranks, I encourage that. So make Vossi coach again. #
Jamie says get rid of Voss.
Jamie says follow your dreams, Vossi.
All right. So lot to play out for. Look, good luck to Robert Harvey over the next few weeks as well too. Hopefully, he had a stellar career.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he can have a stellar one behind the Magnets as well too. I reckon, funny enough, talking about the Magnets, I reckon it is Magnet time, my friends. I think it's time to spit in the Magnets. So let's get into who's getting dragged. Let's have a look at who is getting the votes this weekend. I started it off last week. It's your turn to pick it this week.
Sure.
Where do you want to go first, mate? Dragged or votes?
Let's go drag.
Dragged? All right, you there, Ron?
Haley off, Ellingworth on. Bloody weak as piss.
Gotta love a bit of Ronald Dale, don't you? All right, mate. So, all right, rip your three out, and then I'll go with mine. So, give us a 3, 2, 1 for dragged on the weekend. Jamie Wallace.
You know I like a theme. I love a theme, Peps. And my theme this week is 2-minute drill. There are some clubs out there who needed to practice the
2-minute drill.
2-minute drill. Peps.
Your wife has mentioned that you're pretty good at the 2-minute drill.
Well, less than. But anyway, that's another conversation for another time. There are some teams who lost the game in the last 1 minute of the game. So 1 + 1 equals
2-minute drill.
2-minute drill. So I'm looking at you, Richmond. I'm looking at you, North Melbourne, or specifically GWS in this instant here. And I'm looking at you, St Kilda.
Oh, shit, Kilda.
There are 3 teams that could have killed the game, but because they failed to complete a good
2-minute drill,
it cost them the win. And that's what you get. And they are all big games they lost. I don't even want to talk about St Kilda this week because I could spend a whole show on it. You do not let a team come back and beat you when they haven't scored in the first 47 minutes of the match. St Kilda, that's woeful. Practice your 2-minute drill. Giants, you had North Melbourne on the run. You could have killed that game. You could have put them away. But because you failed to do a 2-minute drill well,
2-minute drill.
You draw. And finally, the one that made my heart sing a little bit, and most people across the country, but you failed to lock down on 2 critical players that were tearing you up that night, Richmond, and they are who, Peps?
2-minute drill.
That's right. They failed to a 2-minute drill. They failed to lock down Ryan. They failed to lock down Kennedy. And Kennedy put the ball through the goals, Peps, with how many seconds remaining on that game?
2-minute drill.
37 seconds, which was within 2 minutes, which means they had 90 seconds to spare. They couldn't do the 2-minute drill well enough, so you lost the game. And
Do you
guess
reckon
what?
they could go to Bunnings and pick themselves up a 2-minute drill? Or do you don't reckon they got them in sale until
Can you imagine if Richmond had beaten West Coast over there? Can you imagine what work would have been like today? But instead, we're all loving it. We're loving it.
I think Chuck Keegan on the chat said it perfectly. The Giants left that match looking like the bottom of a toilet bowl after a dodgy kebab in Western Sydney.
So, Peps, because those 3 teams failed to practice their 2-minute drill, you are on my drag list.
Drag list. Okay, so is that your 3, 2, 1 there?
That's for the Ron, yes.
Oh, so you just go 3, 2, 1 full stop now. You just give them all equal footing.
Give them all because they failed the 2-minute drill, Peps.
Rightio. Okay, here is my 3, 2, 1. One vote. One vote. Who should be dragged is Collingwood. Buckley announces that he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
The team, he's leaving because he can't communicate with the players. He's lost buy-in, whatever. Look, let's be honest. He's going because the players have tuned out, all right?
Yep.
Yet they go and win over the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The scenes after they've won that game, hugging him, kissing him, oh, we love you, Bucks, we love you, Bucks. You know what? If he'd actually done something throughout the year and not waited until the last couple of weeks, you know what? You'd love Buckley a little bit longer. He'd still be at the club. But because of your pathetic efforts and the way that you've handled yourselves over the last couple of weeks, to show that in one game and then treat him like an absolute legend he is, that's a disgrace on you, Collingwood players. You should do more than that. Don't give it. He should still be at the club. Simple as that. So that is absolutely pathetic. All right. Cuddles. My goodness gracious. We love you, Bucks. No, you didn't. Didn't love him enough to keep his job. Rightio. Here's one that's really hard to press, but I have to say it. Shane Mumford. Mate, I've been your biggest supporter. I love your clumsiness around the packs. I would love a big bloke like you smashing the little fellas just to sort of throw your weight around.
Yep.
But you performed two pretty average acts on the weekend.
Clumsy, Peps.
The sling, not the sling tackle, but the grab around the neck. I don't know what was going on there. That wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it was the so blatantly obvious drive the forearm into the bloke's forehead.
Yeah.
Which, if that had connected, that would have been at least it would have had to be 4 weeks because he's actually gone to do it.
Peps, he's clumsy.
Do you know in the 80s and that there was attempted striking? That should be an attempted striking one. So, Mummy, I can't stand up for you any longer. That was putrid. Right. Last but not least, I'm going to run through some teams.
Mm-hmm.
St Kilda. You know, shit Kilda.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have a show every week. We wouldn't have half a show if it wasn't for St Kilda.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like the never-ending story.
Yep.
Swans, Port Adelaide, Melbourne, North Melbourne, Suns, and I won't throw in Richmond because they played that bunch of teams. What you served up on the weekend was pitiful, disgraceful. It was upset cities. Hey, the teams that won, great wins across the board, okay? And I'm probably being a little bit harsh on North and the Suns, but North, you shouldn't have given up a lead that big. And the Suns, you had about 3 shots in within the last couple of minutes to win that, and you couldn't even do it. So that's a bit of a slap on the wrist. A draw is a null result for me. But just those teams there, especially the Swans, Port, and Melbourne, should have had easy wins on the weekends. Easy. And they weren't able to bring the milkshakes to the yard. And once again, they haven't left their season in tatters, but being able to solidify positions, whether it's in the 8, top of the ladder, or struggling to even make it, you're just making it harder for yourselves. They're the games that you need to win. Not good enough.
Peps.
Yep.
Port Adelaide are Geelong's bitches. We cannot beat Geelong. I don't know what generation, what year, what season we have to play them. We always struggle against Geelong. We are their bitches.
I reckon if you played them in China with COVID, you might be a chance.
Since 2007, we are their bitches.
Oh, you are their bitches, big time.
We are.
All right, mate. I think it's time to. Get him out right now. Let's get him out, buddy.
3 votes.
Let's get out your 3 votes. Who have you got to share with the team? Who's your 3 votes, by the way? Listeners on the chat and everybody else, have a bit of a look.
All right. So my 3 votes this week, Peps. It's nice and simple. Gold is my theme, Peps.
Gold, always believe in your hope.
I was thinking like gold member. Anyway, so gold is my theme, Peps, because a good forward is worth their weight in
gold. Always believe in your gold.
A perfect example of that this weekend only highlighted that. Remind me, who was the forward that sunk Richmond's hearts?
2-minute drill. Oh, Josh Kennedy. Josh Kennedy.
Very good forward, worth his weight in
gold.
Perfect. How many times has he bailed them out?
Oh,
all right.
Probably more than the, I don't know, Collingwood in the 80s. More than the West, more than Ben Cousins in WA or at Crown with Daniel Kerr, Michael Gardner.
Weight in gold. Riley Thorpe. Another forward worth his weight.
Filthy.
I thought when he missed that, he kicked a drop punt that went sailing across the face with about 2 minutes ago. I'm like, oh no, he should have just went for a banana and just tried to kick a point. Yep. Anyway, grabbed the ball, top of the square, congested, over his head, blop, in the goals. Love it. Won them the game. Snaps and claps to you, Thorpe. You are worth your weight in gold.
Gold. Always.
And let's go all the way back to Thursday night, the extravaganza of the week. The game that everyone looks forward to is Thursday night now. Jeremy Cameron, the recruit of Jeremy Cameron, is worth its weight in gold. Not only did he absolutely dominate Ali and was unstoppable over the ground, having 3 forwards in Tom Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron, and the redhead bloke, I refuse to say his name. Jeremy Cameron went 5 and zip. 5 goals zip.
How did Charlie Dixon go?
Kicked a couple.
Oh, so he kicked a goal against a top 8 team.
Well, yep.
He's getting there. Or he's got a future, the young bloke.
Charlie. Jeremy Cameron. Absolute jet. I cannot knock the bloke. He is their pick. He is just taken his game from GWS Jeremy to like Rocket Jeremy.
When you say that, Julio Hools or Jules Julio, who I know, top bloke, looks like a bit of Eddie Murphy in his younger days. He's picking Geelong to win the flag. He's gone out on a limb with that pick after what they did.
Just saying, forwards these days in that this round was worth their weight in gold. And yes, Nick, I did know that Rosie kicked 5, but what did he do after the last first quarter?
He didn't have to do anything because he did his job. He kicked 5, Jamie. Same as Cameron, and you've said that he was the greatest thing since.
Well, Jeremy Cameron, he's not Bontempelli make me knees shake, but when Jeremy Cameron is on song, it is bloody amazing to see. Anyway,
how they got him underneath the salary cap.
Forwards worth their weight in gold. Gold is my theme this week, Peps, because they are worth it.
All right. Not a bad one there, J-Dog. Well done. Put a bit of research into that finally. Okay, here's my 3. Simple as this. Nathan Buckley. You know what? He's had many things over the years. All Australians. He's had Norm Smith medals. He's had Brownlow medals, Anzac medals.
Triple Brownlow?
No.
Is he triple?
Single
Adam
Brownlow.
Goods, Buckley.
Yeah, he was part of a 3-way. But
three-way.
Three-way. Okay. But you know what? If he's going to look back at his career and decide, what is the one thing that I take away from my career? It's that block of grass that the SCG provided to him on his last day. How long is that grass going to stay for? Does it come with its own hydroponic system?
Just the memories that he's had on SCG. Just the memories.
Is it going to retain itself? I don't know. He's Port Adelaide, the way that he left Brisbane in such a distinguished manner. But yeah, he is going to go back and go. He's going to just push out all of that memorabilia and just slot that beautiful piece of Kentucky bluegrass right in the front on top of the mantle next to his pictures of his kids and his new lady friend. So 1 vote there. Now, 2 votes, you sort of stole my thunder, but I have to give it to these 2 blokes. Riley Thilthorpe and Josh Kennedy, the way that they won their games on the weekend, absolute gorgeousness about it. Riley Thilthorpe, that shot that he had, I don't know what he was doing. He missed everything. And, that was pretty troubling for the guy. He had a crack and he didn't get near it. But the great thing about it is it wasn't that the goal that he kicked over his head. And mind you, if you're a good player, you nail those each and every single time. And I did. But it was the fact that if you have a look at the bloke who shepherded the ball through, he was the actual one that followed the kick up.
Yeah, who was that? I can't remember his name.
No, he was the one who followed his own kick up.
Yes.
So snaps and claps to you, big fella. Just the smartness to do that. But brilliant kick. Mine went through post high when I did mine. I didn't bounce it on the goal line. And then the runner came out and said, "Good goal, Peps. Do that again. You'll never play seniors again." Okay. And Josh Kennedy, geez, tell you what, was that a kick and a half from the boundary?
Banana 45.
I tell you what, the only people not cheering for him to make that go through was Richmond supporters across the country. 17 other clubs going, kick it, kick it, kick it, and he kicked it.
And for the good of the game, it was 15 metres.
It was 15. I don't care if it was 2 metres. It was a great kick. It was 15 metres, right? Get over yourselves, all right? Seriously. Hey, and the last one I want to throw out, semi-football related, but for the simple fact, the game wasn't at the MCG, it was at the SCG, and Melbourne did go down to Collingwood. But the whole fight, M&D, it was the 7th year that they've done it. When they first tried to roll it out, I remember they were talking about hopefully being able to raise $200,000. That's what they were aiming for the first year.
Yeah,
they've raised up to 50 million, I think it is, so far in the 7 years.
Yeah,
and this thing is just getting bigger and bigger every single year. And you look at some of the names that they brought in and the way that they take it. They had the Wiz yesterday, Jeff Farmer going down as the Wiz with kicking a bag of 9, if you saw that. But the way that he was speaking about Neil Danaher was bringing emotion to himself, which you don't see all that often. But just some of them. But I think, look, we give Gilla McLaughlin, Jill McLaughlin, a lot of, a bit of stick on this podcast, and from reasons that are deserved. But for him to go down as Meatloaf and accepting, we got that one completely wrong. It's the first time the AFL have come out and said we've got something completely wrong without media pressure. Was actually in really good spirits. And then the fact he put on that mustard jacket and that hat from when he went to Warrnambool a number of years ago at the races.
Yeah.
So it's just getting bigger every year. And I can't wait for everybody. Get your COVID injection, all right? You're not going to get tracked by the government or aliens or whatever. Get it so we can all go back to the footy next year and celebrate it for what it needs to be. Okay. Now, this is, I love our supporters, but this is a total Richmond nuffy. Like, I know Rowan meetings. It was 10 metres. Richmond should have won. No, Rowan, you didn't win, and it was not more than 10 metres, all right? Get off the couch, go out the backyard, get a tape measure, and see that was more than 10 metres. Come on. You just weren't good enough again, and you're not going to make the 8. I keep saying it, and people keep laughing at me, and it's getting more and more close to becoming a reality. You watch, Pep 6 is going to get it right, and you're going to hate me for life.
All right. Is that it for Peps?
Well, no, because I have an announcement to make.
Okay.
I have 2 announcements. First and foremost, over the last number of weeks, we've been giving away the ability to win this, a gorgeous pack of 36 AFL Team Coach 2021 footy cards, 36 packs in total. We've drawn that tonight, and I'm happy to announce that the winner is Jay Avacan from New South Wales. So congratulations to you.
Well done, Jay.
Yeah, well done, big fella. He got on board and he subscribed to Lace Out. So I'm going to be sending that up to you, hopefully, if you give me your address. If not, I'll redraw it. Simple as that. And the other thing is, look, we have to go the Rising Star nominee for this week. We've already mentioned him, I reckon, about 7 times. Let's just throw him in. He is an absolute gun. Kicked 5 on debut. Kicked an absolute pearler on the weekend. We know who we're talking about. Riley Thilthorpe, the Rising Star 4-round third. Wholly deserved. And this guy's got a massive, massive future. So get behind Thilthorpe. Unfortunately, he's playing for a dud team, which is Adelaide.
Hey.
But not the worst team in Adelaide as we speak.
Hey, get stuffed. All right, Peps. Let's straighten up here. I'm going to talk about something that's going to make my head almost explode, Peps.
Hold on.
It's not this one. It's not that. Because you and I are in agreement to this thing. It's a joint, just a general acknowledgement of a bullshit rule.
The bullshit rule.
Okay. We all know, anyone who watches football, anyone has seen the media in the last 4 days, knows that David McKay from Adelaide is currently going to front the tribunal for a fair and legal bump, in my eyes, where unfortunately the St Kilda player Hunter Clark got a broken jaw. So he's out for probably 6 to 7 weeks. Apparently he's in pieces and all of those things. On the day, not a free kick was paid. Post-game, they said, oh, you're under report, but we don't know what you're reported for, Peps. So he went 2 days without knowing what he was reported for.
Sounds like the Victorian Health Minister.
Finally, on Monday night, the AFL released a statement going, well, you're going to tribunal, but we don't know what you're going there for. Okay, on Monday, we're going to tell you. And apparently he's engaged in rough conduct that was unreasonable in the circumstances. So the AFL has also indicated that the incident should be regarded as high contact with severe impact, which should equate to a 3-game ban for McKay. Now, Peps, I know you've said it, and I know that I've argued against it, but this is one of those things where he's bumped legally, he's done nothing wrong, but unfortunately the players walked away with a broken jaw. We know that the AFL is trigger happy when it comes to players getting injured anywhere around the head because they know of the legal lawsuits that are coming in the billions of dollars in the next 20 years. This is a joke. This is a joke when you have 2 players going for the ball, a fair and legal bump. No one went one or the left. 2 competitive people going for the ball, and unfortunately one gets a broken jaw, and because of that broken jaw, they go for the tribunal. They're saying, I've heard the media today talk about, who was it? Jared Waitley talk about how he accelerated into the contest. Well, fuck me dead.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Because you know what, J-Dog? If he pulls out of that contest, he would be pantsed by the media, pantsed by the supporters, pantsed by every football commentator out there, coach, players, you're a squib, etc. You can't.
It's baffling when you're complaining, and I get it. I get the fact that we're trying to protect the players. I get it. But at the same time, you know you're playing a contact sport, and unfortunately, This is just one of those things of the game. Unless we're going to start talking about, well, Peps, what about when you went to spoil a mark but accidentally clipped the guy in the head? He's concussed. That means because he got concussed, Peps, you're out for 3 weeks. Now, you were just spoiling the ball. You were doing nothing different to what you were doing last week, but because he's got a concussion, you're out for 3 weeks, even though nothing was called. They use the examples today. Nick Rewalt, that courageous mark where he ran 30 metres back into the pack, and that, who got concussed? I think it was one of those players from that team.
No, they were saying that if somebody had have got concussed, like his arm had swung out and hit somebody on the way through, could he get rubbed out for that?
And would that be one of the most courageous marks you've ever seen? Jonathan Brown, week in, week out. Only 4 weeks ago, we talked about Tom Cleary got his jaw broken about 7 pieces by one of the players. Once again, the player from behind came up, smacked him, hip and shouldered him, sorry. But he wasn't reported. He's not for 3 weeks. Cleary's got a broken jaw in about 4 pieces, apparently. So this is just bullshit. It's bullshit to the highest proportions.
Say it properly.
It's bullshit.
Does it, mate? It's bullshit.
I get it.
I've watched it. I reckon I've watched this 20 times.
I get it. We evolve. I do. I get it. I totally get it. We
know why they're doing it for the concussions and the CTE and all this sort of stuff. And I get that. All right. The thing is that if you watch the footage, and this is the thing, watching the footage makes it look a lot worse than it actually is. Because when they slow it down, they've got to play it at full speed. He doesn't take his eyes off the ball at all.
They're equal at the ball.
They're equal at the ball. And if you have a look, Clark actually, he would have hit him at a normal height on that shoulder, but Clark actually goes down. It's not that he raised himself. He was actually bracing for contact, full stop.
Yeah.
You are allowed to protect yourself. And this is the thing, they keep saying you should slow down and tackle him. I'm telling you now, I'll run at you from 15 meters away, full tilt.
Yeah.
And you and then you run at me and then stop at about 5 meters to go and then try and tackle me. You've got no chance. Actually, probably what's going to happen is I'm going to hit you down the middle and you're going to feel a lot more than I will.
Peps.
And it's not right. And I can understand from the AFL's perspective, but they've got to come out and say, listen, it was a contest, but if this happens again, you're going to be rubbed out. You can't rub the bloke out for something that you haven't even charged. They haven't even got him on a charge. They couldn't even.
On the day, they couldn't know.
But it took them 3 days to, we're going to report you, but for what for? That was like the umpire in the Adelaide game who gave a free kick to the Adelaide bloke on the line because Dougal Howard was shepherding. He was apparently not allowing the guy to go and take a mark. Did you hear that on the broadcast? He's going, but that's not a rule. As a backman, I am supposed to stop him from not taking a mark.
Yeah.
I didn't have my arms around him. I didn't hold him. I didn't chop his arms. But he's just making something up because I did my job effectively.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting harder and harder for players to be able to do what they want to do and play the game at the rate that they want to play. And I've just got a really bad feeling that he is going to cop it. He is going to cop a suspension. Yet, here's the thing. In yesterday's game, Jordan Agoe lines up Clayton Oliver from a boundary throw-in, clips him on the jaw. Now, Oliver did do the spin and flop, happens to do that a bit, and I can't say. But he gets a week for that.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the two, one lined one up and the other one was a collision, yet the one, because it's a worse injury, and that's the thing I think a lot of people are really pissed off with, is the fact that they're going for the outcome and not the intent. Now, if you line the two of them up against each other and said, which was worse? Was it the one that they've run at the contest and unfortunately there's been a collision when they've both got their eyes on the ball? Or has it been the guy who's come off the line and run through a bloke and just clipped him enough not to injure him?
Yeah.
I'd say it's category B, but the AFL won't do that.
Well, it just doesn't mean that every contest from now on, moving forward in the AFL, is going to be adjudicated on the outcome of the players getting up.
But there has been. How long has it been since the outcome has been involved?
We've
seen it too long.
I know. And you're
How
not
many
arguing
sling
about
tackles do you see on the weekend where none of them have been picked up because the person didn't get concussed?
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they're not getting picked up. And, you know, if someone tackles me, I'm probably mid 80 kilos, all right? there's going to be a different result than if somebody tackled you in probably mid-70s, if that.
Yeah.
All right? Because your lighter frame, you're going to feel a lot more.
We're going to have 6 different weight categories running around the AFL that you can't
well, they're going to be in
them.
zones anyway. They're going to be in zones. And they're going to be wearing bibs and helmets. And helmets don't do anything. I'm telling you now, helmets don't do anything. All right? They absorb a little bit of it, but it doesn't stop the head shaking. Watch the movie Concussion, the Will Smith movie Concussion.
Mm.
And there's a scene where he puts, I think, a tomato or an apple in a jar of water and shakes it.
Yep.
And he literally says, look, from the outside, it looks okay. But when you cut into it, it's just all mush.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets with the concussion. And unfortunately, that's the way it's going to. And Dave McKay, you know what? Probably one of the fairest players ever. And he's just been a bad spot.
200 games, something that never been reported ever.
Yep, exactly right.
Peps, and because the answer is not to just chuck them in protective clothing, because we only have to look at the NFL and how many concussion cases we got going there every. Well, they're in big stuff. They've got billions of dollars of losses.
You got the NRL. You've got ice hockey. Ice hockey's going to have it. Even with they got the helmets on, they're still going to be copping a lot of concussions with into the boards or just the hardness of their hits. The playoffs are on at the moment. Go have a look at some of the hits in that thing. That'll fucking rock your socks.
So what is the duty? So the duty of the care of the AFL is we've got rules around head high. We've got rules around tackles. We've got rules around certain things. We've got rules around how we deal with concussion and protocols.
There's your issue right there. There's too many rules and there's too much grey. There's too much grey.
But what I'm saying is, what else can the AFL do without going down an NFL path and putting helmets on everyone and then start putting pads on everyone to save their bodies from the tackles, to put braces on their elbows?
I would love for them to come out and say it, because you can't say, well, we'll think. You've got to come out with a directive. That's what the AFL, that's why these guys get big bucks. You need to come out with a directive and say, this is acceptable and this is not acceptable.
But why can't we just sign waivers? Like, we have to sign waivers every time we do anything these days. If we get injured, whatever, jumping at bloody one of those trampoline places,
yep,
that's on us. We've signed our waiver.
Maybe. The problem is that then you got the AFL Players Association who have got too much power at the moment, and that's you can't go with helmets. Helmets don't do a thing.
I don't know the solution, but the solution isn't to start wrecking the fundamental of our sport, which is 2 people competitively going for the same ball, both very legal, not playing, because in the 80s it was all about playing the man. Take the man out, take the man out, take the man out. They changed that. It all became about contesting the ball.
And I agree with that. Like, if you go and watch any paddock football and you see some of the hits, like, you sit back and go, thank goodness I'm not playing anymore. I was sick of doing that to people. But that's
stopped. They stopped. So they started playing, play the ball. We're doing that now. And now these players, because people are getting injured, we're gonna rub them out for 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks is serious. 4 weeks is a big suspension these days.
It's a massive suspension, especially with weeks being cut off, etc. It just makes it more and more. So I don't know, J-Dog. You know what? We're really good. We usually come up with stuff, but this one we don't have answers for it. We don't have answers for this one. It's going to be a bit of a challenge.
I hope it gets off.
I do, but I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening.
It's just going to make a mockery of our sport. And someone said here in one of our chats, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Jules, but he talked about soccer players will be laughing at us in 5 years at how soft we're becoming. Can't disagree.
Well, I'll put it this way. No, well, I can, because if it was so easy, they wouldn't be playing soccer. There you go. Alrighty. Hey, listen, I need to quickly do something before we get into our listener question, because I need to splash the cash a bit, because there's been a bit of news being made when it comes to contracts, etc. So a bit of contract news for everybody. And you would have heard that Big Harry Mackay from the Blues signed a 2-year extension, which will get him up to free agency. Mm-hmm. Massive. Apparently 1.6 over 2. Mm-hmm. For Big Harry. So he could have stayed longer, but just wanted to do that. Gold, exactly right. Now, something else that's come out of this, which is the whole Dane Beam situation, where he said something along the lines, in almost like a throwaway comment, that he's been paid outside of the salary cap for the remainder of his contract. And the AFL have gone, hold on, that's the first that we've heard about it. Looks like there might be a bit of an investigation going into that way. Collingwood say it's all good. He's saying, nah, not really. once again, another one of those little Collingwood stories I'd rather not have, but that one's coming in. Looks like Mason Redmond from Essendon will be signing up a brand new contract. Talks are underway as we speak, which is awesome. Yep. It looks like Josh Kennedy, he signed signed for an extra year a couple of weeks back. Yep. But the other part of the dynamic duo, Luke Parker, still to go. So there's a bit of work to come out of that one as well. Tom Purcell, I think it is Tom Powell from North Melbourne. Looks like he's going to be signing a new contract, which is great news for the Kangaroos. But just the number of players that are in no man's land at the moment, like these are some of the names that are yet to sign for their teams this year. I'm not going to go through the teams, but Shai Bolton, Sam Wiedemann, Will Gould, Ed Richards, Adam Chera, Tom Green, Zach Merritt, Jaden Laverde, Jake Stringer, Jake Riccardi, Will Day, Sam Flanders, Josh Kelly. Like that's just I've probably ripped out about 10 or 12 names there, and there's other ones that are just as big yet to put pen to paper. So, it could be another one of those big off trade periods as well too. So, like I said, we splash the cash here at Laceout. We'll give you all the contract news as we get it. But good to see Harry Mackay getting the cash, cha-ching. But plenty of work for lots of clubs. And while these bye weekends are going on, there'll be definitely player managers speaking to clubs to find out the statuses of people and what their intentions are. Potentially might be for next year.
Yep. Like it.
All right. So I think it's over to our the segment that has just blown up. Like it is gone. It is gone apeshit, mate. It's the listener question. It's your baby. Massive things to come out of it last week. Go into it. Give us a summary of the.
Do you want to do our round 13 review, which is our Lace Out community telling us what they loved, loathed, and laughed about?
Yeah, go for it.
Short one. All right. So it's a new thing we try. We're going to do it again next week to see how you go. Today it was a practice run this week. If you don't like it, don't answer it, and we won't put it on anymore. All right. So Alira Wallace has come out and said she loved the Pies win over the D's. Can't disagree there. And she she loathed, was Bucks departing. JD McNair said, I enjoyed seeing Bucks finish with a win. Not a Pies fan, but Bucks is class. Buzz has come out and said, loved the close games, loathed the umpires, and laughed at the media and how they analysed the games. Can't disagree with that.
Can't disagree with that.
We didn't give the umpires a razz this week because we always do it every week.
Yep.
All right. Question of the week. Let me scroll down. Okay. Listener question this week was, what weird food combos shouldn't work but do? So here we go. We had a few comments. So we had Joel Michael come out and said peanut butter and banana sanger with bacon.
Okay. When did Elvis start following Lace Out?
That's not a bad combo. I mean, it's not a bad way to clog your arteries. Peanut butter.
Need some maple syrup on that too.
Brad Evers, Vegemite and peanut butter sandwich. That'd be all right.
Yeah.
Bit of salty peanut butter. Salty nuts. Robbie Leone's come out and he said warmed peanut butter tortillas. And that sounds delicious. Like that doesn't sound weird at all to me.
I know Robbie Leone. And that's probably the most normal thing that has ever come out of his mouth.
Okay. So I've got Alira Wallace here who said cheese and strawberry jam on toast sandwich. Perfect blend of sweet and savoury, and barbecue sauce on baked beans.
Cats in this.
Ducktronic. Oh, no, sorry, Josh Weymouth. Controversial. We know Josh. He's filet. Mustard on a meat pie.
Yeah, you can.
No. It's weird, isn't it?
Who's he back for again?
He's Geelong supporter.
Enough said.
Ducktronic. Fruit toast on Promite. Weird one.
Raisin bread.
Madison Sage, Maggi seasoning on tomato sauce, plain boiled rice. Nick from Portraits Podcast.
Yep.
Old friend love pancakes and Vegemite and tomato sauce all together.
Isn't that the state that has pie floaters?
It certainly is.
Enough said.
Corey Vanduck said cheese melted on toast and celery salt. I've never tried celery salt. Have you tried celery salt before?
No, I haven't. But there's not much in celery. What would be in celery salt?
Buzz has just simply said fried rice and tomato sauce. So, Peps, what's yours? What's your weird food combo?
It's not a weird food. I said it last week. Poached eggs with bacon and maple syrup.
Yep. Maple syrup probably the hero there, isn't it?
Oh, it's just, and none of that, not the fake stuff. You got to get the pure Canadian,
The Canadian stuff.
the Canadian calorie killer. That one.
The Canadian
get
stuff.
that. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's right. Get the Canadian.
For me, I'm a big fan of porridge and peanut butter. Just a big fan of it. Love it.
How do you do that?
Just like normal porridge, and then you
Put a dollop of
scoop of peanut butter and mix it in.
For all the anaphylactics out there, do not try that one.
All right, Peps.
Yes.
The question this week, because Peps, you and I are talking a bit retro, we're talking about going back in time, we're talking about classic forwards, we're talking about bumps, and we're talking about how that should not be ruled out of the game, hopefully. So we're going for a bit of a time warp, Peps. And
you're walking down the street, just a big bump.
This week's question is, if you can go back in time and bring something back from your childhood, what would it be?
Let's do the time warp again.
What's that question again?
If you could bring something back from your childhood, what would it be?
Oh, you were listening.
I was.
Yeah, the old facilitator trick 101. Just got to test you.
Right. Just testing. Yeah, thank you very much.
Excellent. So, Peps, don't answer right now, but go back. Listeners out there, think about in your childhood, what would you go back and bring into the now? So it could have been maybe a car that you once owned when you were 18 and now it's worth an absolute mint and you'd love to have that again. Maybe it was tubes because you're a big fan of tubes chips, but even though Warney has bought them back.
Is Warney the one bringing them back?
Wow. He's petitioned.
No, they're back. They're coming back.
They are back.
They are back.
The Polywaffle was one recently that came back.
Do you know the other one that came back? The scorched peanut bar.
Scorched peanut bar. So what is something from your childhood, and we can play it up to probably, let's play it to 10 years ago that you could bring back.
Oh, no. But you can't childhood. My 10 years ago would only be 35.
No, sorry. I'm saying up to a decade ago. So your childhood up until a decade ago.
Well, why don't you just say something not in the last 10 years?
Okay, we'll go with that.
What happens if you're 15? You've only got 5.
Oh, we're going
Everybody's
to
childhood. Just your childhood, Jamie. Don't try and add just childhood. People know what their childhood is.
Some people are young, Peps.
I know.
And they'd be like, I don't know.
I was born very young. Rightio. So there's your listener question. It goes off every single week on the podcast. So make sure that you give us your response because you could be read out next week. Rightio. Last thing before we complete another massive show, huge show of Lace Out here is simply it's time to do it 1 week at a time. The game that you're looking forward to this week. Look, there's only going to be 5 games this week because of the Richmond and West Coast game being brought forward a week. Should they just have 1 week of no footy whatsoever?
Just put a buy in.
Just buy it. Yep.
The problem is Pep's broadcasters will never allow that. Foxtel Channel 7 will never allow that.
They still get the same amount of games. It doesn't make a difference.
They will never have a week with no content.
What would they know? Rightio. I think it's simple, mate. There's only one game that I'm massively looking forward to, and it's got to be this Friday night, the Cats versus the Dogs. Basically, Dogs win, go top of the table. Geelong win, they get to slot into equal second spot on the ladder. And if you said that about Geelong at the start of the season after the way they lost to Adelaide, so that is the one that I will be looking forward to.
Okay. For me, Peps, there's 2. I'm going to pick one, though. And this is the line in the sand game. Hawks versus Essendon. Finally, after 15 years, maybe Essendon may get to push around Hawthorn a little bit, Peps. Maybe.
Gee, I tell you what, be a good game this. Going to be down at Tassie, slightly bit of frostbite down there. It's going to be a bit chilly. Will Essendon be able to hold up? Do you know the other game I'm going to have a bit of a look at?
You're going to say how much I'll
like. You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah.
Gold Coast versus your mob, 1:45 p.m. Metricon.
No.
Could you imagine if you lose that?
Well, you lost on the weekend, so get stuffed.
We're still 1 game clear at the top of the ladder.
Smug
we only beat teams in the 8. Do you know what that's like?
I thought you were going to say no. Yes, we do actually. We played Richmond. We won by 4 points. Round 3. I thought you were going to say Carlton and Giants.
No chance.
Okay.
No chance. And North Melbourne versus the Lions. No chance. But, I don't think it'll be boring. North played pretty good footy on the weekend. They just did stupid mistakes. But if you were going to pull someone out, if you could pull Nick Larkey out of North, we'll do a straight swap for Sam Wiedemann and pay
Sam Wiedemann, Ben Brown. Put him back.
Can we just throw him there?
Throw him back.
Throw him back. Throw the fish back. All right. I think Benny might be getting a game this week. I think he'll be back next. Hey, listen, another cracking episode, J-Dog. Absolutely sensational. So, remember, tipped out this Thursday night. Hey, do us a favour. Like, if you haven't left us a review on iTunes, we'd love you to leave one if you could. It means a lot to us. Like, it takes 5 minutes of your time, but make a massive, massive difference because there's people who don't get to hear about us. And they're going to be listening to some other dodgy stuff, and they're missing out on like a
missing
podcast.
Out on this dodgy stuff.
They're missing out on this, but this is quality dodgy stuff that comes from the heart. All right.
Like Kirby said.
Second thing is that remember, if you haven't entered, jump on the Facebook page. I'm giving away a copy of Mick Warner's book, The Boys Club. Absolute cracker. If you haven't heard the interview, get in because that's a ripper as well too. And last but not least, tipped out Thursday night, like I mentioned too. We'll have our tips. Share that one as round 2 because that's how you want your tips. Hashtag tipped out. Awesome. And yeah, don't listen to the Bev show. Doggies, woof, woof, woof. Get on Lace Out because it's how you want your footy. Lace Out. Hey, J-Dog, great weekend. And remember, hashtag make Vossi coach again. Got to get that out of there. Jamie wants him out, all right? So for everybody tuning in tonight, thank you very much for everybody in the chat. It's gone absolutely gangbusters tonight. J-Dog, you've been an absolute superstar. People listening to this after the fact on your podcast platform, etc., on your smart TV, smart speaker, regardless, thank you very much for tuning in. And by the way, last week, one of our listeners actually contacted us on on Wednesday morning saying that there's a problem with your episode. Can you fix it? That was the only way that we knew that something went wrong last week. So that just shows how much people love what we do to send us a message and say, I'm getting in the car. It's a frosty Wednesday morning. I just wanted my serving of Lace Out and it stopped after 8 minutes. Can you fix it? We did. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. So that's it, J-Dog. Cracking episode. I have to ask the question, as we do each and every single week. My friend, Jamie Wallace, the superstar, the Lance Bass of this in-sync Timberlake duo. You want your footy, and how is Port Adelaide not delivering it at the moment?
Lace Out.
Have a great week, listeners, and hope your team wins.
See you, listeners.